Yeah.
And I guess I should say, too, there is one other benefit that I can think of, and that is tax-deferred growth on non-qualified money, so non-retirement money.
Okay.
Usually, gains are taxed as their, well, how do I want to word this? If you have an after-tax investment account, you are taxed on gains. So as you grow, anytime you sell a security and move, from security A to security B, you're taxed on the growth.
Yep.
Inside of an annuity, you are not taxed on the growth ever. No matter what you do, you're taxed on it when you start pulling money out.
Exactly.
So you can change the underlying investments around and not incur tax like you would inside of a investment account. So
what are some of the cons then? I think we kind of touched on some of them. I don't think the fee issue is really a con.
No, that's a behind the scenes industry thing. That's not so much a con to the consumer.
The only con I would think of is that if someone sells something to someone, there really isn't an incentive to then have them meet with that person regularly to go over their annuity contract at that point. That could be a con, based upon how someone gets paid. They're not going to want to go over something every single year with someone where, they're really not getting a compensation on that. That's probably a con.
That's a con. I think the other con, well, there's a few cons. I mean, the second con would be, I guess, opportunity cost, right? And this is something, unless you have a crystal ball, we don't know. But I mean, obviously, if you put your money in an annuity and it grows at 2% over the next 20 years, and you could have put it into this that grew 8%, you're going to be behind. But there's opportunity costs outside of annuities. There's opportunity costs in every dollar you own.
Exactly.
So,
that would be like me then blaming the banks for only paying 1% on people when they have a bunch of cash in there. Like, what are you doing?
It goes back to expectations. Were the expectations?
Yeah, for sure.
Realistic when they were set up front.
Yeah, the other con would be, I think, just I don't even know if this is a con, but would be the surrender charge.
They're hard to they're more difficult to exit. Yeah, if you cancel them in the first 5 to 10 years, depending on the product, you're going to pay what's called a surrender charge, which is a charge that they're assessing to you. It's a percentage-based charge assessed to you for canceling your contract. And usually it starts at, say, 10%.
Mm-hmm.
Year 1, year 2 might be 9, year 3, 8, yada, 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 on a sliding scale. So the closer you get to that 5 or 10 year mark where it drops off, the lower the charge gets. But yeah, if you put money in an annuity and then 2 years later, whatever emergency happens and you absolutely need that money, you're going to take a 8-9% hit to get your own money.
How many times have you seen people have to do that?
Maybe one.
Yeah.
0 to 1.
It hasn't been very many times.
No.
We've seen that. That's where planning comes into play. You got to do proper planning.
Exactly.
But, it is a con. Now, a lot of the times they do have like a free withdrawal amount that you can typically take out every single year.
Correct.
So let's say you put in $200,000 of non-qualified money into an annuity, and then you had an emergency and you're like, oh crap, I need $20,000. Okay.
Yeah, usually the free withdrawal amount is 10% per year.
Yeah, you can take out 10% per year for an emergency.
Yep.
So there is some liquidity to it. It's not great, but there is some liquidity to it that
it's better. It's not completely locked up. It's mostly locked up, but it's not completely.
It's not completely locked up. And, and the charge is still going to be, I think the surrender charge usually starts right around 10 or something like that.
10%. Yep.
10%. So, you'd still get 90% of your money back. It's not like they're going to pay you back, 10% of your money.
Yeah.
But it's not a plus point. Let's just put it that way. I think we hit the return expectations. What would be another con? I guess the fact that the insurance company could potentially have problems. But again, like when have we seen that? Not very often.
I've actually never in my 10-year career seen a client have a insurance or an annuity contract from a company that went belly up. I've never seen it.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to see a lot more banks fail than you are insurance companies.
Yeah. And even if your insurance company does fail, there's safety nets. There's, essentially your annuity contract would be absorbed by another insurance company.
Yep.
And life would go on.
That would likely, back up the benefits and the contract values and all that as well.
Yeah, that's how it works. I mean, say company A is, 10% market share and they go belly up, their contracts are going to be distributed to all their competitors based on the competitors' market share. So if I have a 3% market share, I'm going to get 3% of their annuities.
Yep.
So they're all distributed so that life goes on and the money and benefits aren't lost.